Hey everybody, this is Chancellor D. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Weekly Podcast. This is our 26th episode, and today we're joined by Jenna Say. Hey Jenna.
Hey!
And this episode, we really explored a lot about you. Would you say that?
Yes, we did.
So we talked about your life growing up, cosplay, and we gave some wonderful advice.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up.
Awesome.
Giving advice and cosplay and shooting things with arrows and music and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, I know you all want to hear what we're talking about, so enjoy the show. Later, guys. Welcome to the Let's Talk Weekly Podcast. But first off, I want to say thank you for joining us today on the Let's Talk Weekly Podcast.
No problem. My pleasure.
So, can you tell our listeners who is Jenna Say What?
Well, Jenna Say What came about whenever I started cosplaying about 3 years ago. It was really informal. I wanted to do my own YouTube and wanted to kind of put myself out there. Ended up coming up with the name Jenna Say What because of I have French background, so I was like, I kind of want to play off of something, but I need something that's kind of similar to my name. And so one of my friends was like, well, instead of Jenna Say Quoi, why don't you say Jenna Say What? I'm like, oh, that's perfect. So I ended up coming up with this persona for that. Really one of the biggest reasons that I put myself out there is because I am a product of abuse, so I kind of wanted to put myself out there, let kids and young adults know, hey, you're not the only person. You can become more positive, and you can become a better person. Just because all this bad stuff happened to you doesn't mean that you have to be, in this negative kind of light. And so I wanted to make sure that I put myself out there, and that way I can kind of be like that beacon of hope for other people. So that's kind of how Jenna Say What got started. With the YouTube, I kind of wanted to do more me answering the tough questions and talking about situations that are going on in America or the world. And I realized that that's not really me. I was kind of almost forcing that persona. So whenever I start actually doing the YouTube, I'm even now, I still kind of do what I feel like doing. So it's a lot of YouTubers are find your niche and then go with it. And I'm like, well, I have a lot of niches, so I kind of have just expanded and just keep on popping out videos left and right just because I want to keep going. I want to keep being out there and stuff. So that's one of the biggest reasons why Jenna Say What became Jenna Say What is because I really wanted to get myself out there and be that ray of hope for other people.
Now, have you heard back from people who've come across your work or cosplay or just the messages and stuff that you put out there? Have you heard, I guess, the feedback from the people have been impactful in a way to them?
Not so far. I haven't really put out too much. I'm starting on a blog/vlog for a company out of England, which is comic books and movie reviews. I'm going to be starting doing that. And one of my first pieces that I'm writing right now is cosplay bullying and body shaming. The video is going to be more on the cosplay side of that. Whereas the blog side of it is actually more, it starts out with, as kind of like a cosplay kind of entrance into it, but then it goes into just because you're not a cosplayer doesn't mean that you don't deal with this stuff on a daily basis. So whenever it comes to me doing that, I'm probably going to get a lot more rapport from that. Otherwise, in my daily life, anytime I've said something, I've had people come up to me in private and say, hey, I thought I was the only person. I thought I was the only one that this happened to. And, I can at least be that comfort, because a lot of times people that go through any kind of like difficult situation, you seem to think that you're the only person in the world that's going through it. So it's nice to know that you have someone on your side that's fought the same battle, that knows those emotional scars, and sometimes those physical scars. So it's nice to have that person that you can share that kind of similar background with, and know that you're going to be okay. So in my personal life, yeah, I've came across it. Not so much in the cosplay world yet. I'm sure I'm going to start getting that back now, once that gets put out at the end of the month.
Okay. And that's actually the comic book and movie reviews. That's actually the article I read about you on their site.
Yeah.
As I like it, like it's very in depth, and I will add a link in the description for people to go and read it. But can you mind like, going back and telling everybody, where are you from, like how you got to North Carolina, if you feel like
Oh yeah, that's that's a very fun story. So whenever I've kind of bounced around between Illinois and Massachusetts. I'm a product of a divorce, so as most of kids my age, for whatever reason. But my parents, I always say, are my mom's a Klingon and my dad's a Vulcan, which is like the perfect. Um, it describes them perfectly. So I'm always like, man, it's kind of good that they divorced, because like they are so polar opposites. I can't even imagine like how they even got together, but I'm glad that they did, thankfully. But I grew up. I was born in Downers Grove in Chicago. Once my parents divorced, I moved up to, I'm sorry, once my parents divorced, my parents decided to move back up to Massachusetts, where my father's from. And we lived in West Springfield, Massachusetts for a while. And we ended up living in a city I can't remember, in Massachusetts. And then my parents divorced, and I moved down to good old Southern Illinois, which is where most of my time was spent. Southern Illinois is, for most listeners, they're going to be like, oh, how close is that to Chicago? Well, that's 5.5 hours south. I was closer to St. Louis. Um, but all of, if you fast forward into right before I came to North Carolina, I started dating this guy named Casey, and he wanted to move to Nashville, Tennessee. And he was like talking this place up, and I'm like, you know what? I've never really been to Nashville, but yeah, okay, we'll go, because I hate Southern Illinois. So, because there wasn't really much to do. There wasn't much, like, for nerds. There wasn't anything like really fun. So you had to drive like 3 hours just to get to somewhere to do anything, concerts, whatever. So we moved down to Nashville, Tennessee. We ended up staying there for about 6 months, and we both looked at each other one day and were like, I hate it here. And he's like, I hate it here too. Let's go. He's like, you want to move to North Carolina? I was like, well, I've never been to North Carolina. So yeah, let's go. Let's do it. I'm on board. So we packed up a truck and just kind of hauled ass to North Carolina. And obviously, like, our relationship never, it never stayed, but him and I are best of friends. In fact, my one of my videos that is on my YouTube page, which is the big Brevard video of the waterfalls and all that stuff, the guy Caselicious, that is Casey. He is the reason that I came out to North Carolina. But him and I are like super close friends. And it was actually a real big blessing that I came out here, because I can't imagine living anywhere else now that I've moved out here.
Wow. Because although I've been here like my entire life, but sometimes I do want to get out there and travel, like the Midwest and stuff like that. I've never been, but
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot in the Midwest, I promise. You can go there, but you won't want to stay.
You're the first person to tell me that, so thank you.
Oh no.
What are some things that you've actually enjoyed, like being here in North Carolina?
I really enjoyed, like, this is going to be so adult of me to say this, but like the taxes are really cheap compared to Illinois. That's so adult, but like whenever it comes to Illinois taxes, they're like one of the highest in the nation. So like whenever I came here, I was like, "What do you mean I have money?" Because in Southern Illinois, one of the biggest things is like if you don't get out of Southern Illinois in a group, most of the time you can't get out because you make enough money to survive, but not enough money to leave. Or, you know, you have a job that you can only stay there. Like the coal mines are still a big thing in Southern Illinois. So, like, those people make a lot of money doing what they do. So, why would they want to leave? So, it kind of traps you. So, like, whenever I came out here, I'm like, so much freedom. Another big thing is like you can go 3 hours and you're at the beach. You can go 3 hours and you're in the mountains. A lot of people here are just really, really nice. The driving's terrible, but like,
Yeah.
especially if it rains or snows or any kind of precipitation of any kind, then it's terrible to drive in, but that's okay. Um, but
That's
I like that freedom of being able to move, you know, you can go to the mountains, you can go to the beach. So I love that. Another thing is like it's so much cleaner here. I've been in big cities and stuff, and um, this area, the Triangle, really does take care of its city and everything. Like every now and then you'll hit like a really terrible road or whatever, but it's nothing compared to a lot of places that I've lived. And then on top of that, like this area is so big on, you know, keeping cosplayers happy. Like we have a lot of cons around this area, and then up and down the coast, like the Virginia cons you can go to in like 4 hours or something like that. So like everything is so accessible here. And then on top of that, you have like free stuff. Like Raleigh does all the free weekend stuff and the first Fridays and with all the art, and I think it's a really cool area because they really seem to take care of their citizens and try to get everybody involved in doing things that gets people out of the house, and I think that's really cool.
uh, how is the first Fridays? Because I've never been there before.
Oh, first Friday. So you have all these different places to go look at artwork and like, you know, you have the artists they're selling their products, so you can buy or you don't have to buy whatever, but it's just a nice little like kind of trail that you can go on, and they have bands that are downtown by what is it, Raleigh Times. They have like beer and food trucks, and it's just really cool because you have that free live music, which is most of the time local artists, which is cool because around this area, like they really do support the local arts, and I think that's really cool because I think that there's not enough of that, especially whenever I graduated school. They were starting to cut the arts program, starting to cut band, chorus, art, everything. And I think that that really takes away from kids and, you know, even adults. Like, we need that kind of thing. We need that outlet for being able to express yourself in a way that, you know, you won't be able to otherwise. You know, throw a bunch of paint on a piece of paper and just be, you know, get all those emotions out that you need to. So I love the fact that they do the art shows and the concerts and stuff, and it's all free for everybody just to go downtown, and it's really kid friendly too if you have kids.
Okay. Did you go out there for the Fourth of July
I
festivities?
did. Yeah, I did. I enjoyed myself very much. But it was a blast. I mean, there was so much. There were acrobatics going on. There was um, just everything, like all the arts, and there were vendors, and all the local restaurants were just going crazy. Like, I mean, everybody who was anybody was, it felt like, was downtown. So it was really cool being able to go out and party downtown Raleigh. So yeah, it's a good time.
Because as I've been told, like Raleigh, it's getting better than Durham and Chapel Hill and stuff, and I'm starting to believe it. So,
Yeah, I think it's really starting to explode.
uh, but like I know, like and for listeners that don't know or people who don't know, like I met you at Wizard World in was it March?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was March.
yeah. So because no, I was hanging around with Charlie Rocket and Price Stark and DJ Raymay and I remember you had the was it your Aquaman cosplay?
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
gender bent Aquaman.
Okay. So how is that? Because I was reading the article about your experience with that, and I do remember you said like you were wearing the heels for like 7 hours.
Oh my god, I was wearing them for far too long. Yeah, my toenail is still bruised.
Oh, because and I did read like that was your first in the armor. So like, how did you like get into the cosplay scene?
Well, I say the like one of the biggest reasons that I got into cosplay is because like I needed that creative outlet. Plus Halloween is my favorite time of the year, so any reason to dress up and be, this character or whatever is absolutely just the best thing for me. Um, so whenever I first started, it was really intimidating. I had my store bought and it was I paid way more than I should have for it. It was my Captain America. I could not for the life of me find a shield, and I didn't have time to get a shield like sent to me. So I ended up making this like makeshift shield, and I mean it was made out of a cardboard wreath, like the base for a wreath, and I used fabric, and I took like this really cheap wire that I had to make a handle, and then I painted it with acrylic paint. I mean, this thing, like, I ended up throwing away, and sometimes I kind of wish I didn't because it was so terrible. But I went and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this for real. So, like, that was almost like this October or this November will be 4 years. But I had this costume and I was so timid because I'm like, all these people are going to make their costumes. They're going to be amazing. And like, I got such a good rapport from it, but I was still really intimidated. So I kind of put the costume back in the closet for another 3 years. And I was like, okay, I know that I could go to this group that's called the 105th, and I was like, they'll help teach me, how to, or they teach how to make costumes, and it's a good charity group that kind of does everything cosplay wise. So they'll go visit like hospitals and stuff in costume. But I was so intimidated by it because I'm like, no, I haven't created anything in so long. So I just shoved the costume in the closet, and last November, I decided to take it out, but I decided that I was going to make something new, which I was really intimidated by also because I had no idea what I was doing. So I took out I kind of made a list of some characters, and I'm like, okay, who's the easiest to make? And that's whenever I bought like a long sleeve leotard and like basically dismantled it. Like I cut out the sleeves, and with the help of my fiance, because he can sew and I can't, he kind of taught me how to use a sewing machine a little bit, and he went out on business, and here I am stuck at the house trying to sew this like leotard, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't understand, and I'm yelling at him on the phone, going, "It's breaking! I think I broke it." He's like, "You better have not broke my sewing machine," and he's like, "Are you sure it's thread right?" I swore up and down it was threaded right. It was so wrong. I had it threaded totally wrong. But my Miss Marvel I made, I didn't even know what it was called, but I took the like stretch gold lame, put it on the inside, stitched it in by hand in the lightning bolt pattern, and then went back over it with a sewing machine, and then it was like what they call a reverse applique, which I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know that that was a thing. I just thought I came up with this like magical way of making the lightning bolt on the inside of the leotard and make it look real cool and stuff. But apparently that was not my creative like advancement for the human race. But I made this costume and I was so proud of it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. And I went and I got, again, a lot of good rapport from my Miss Marvel and my Aquaman. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for real this year. So I got up enough courage, and I had a good support system at this point. So I was like, all right, I'm in a good place. Let's do this. And that's whenever I had bought a Dark Phoenix costume, and I didn't really like the way it looked. And I had already made my sash for Miss Marvel, so I'm like, okay, I'll just repeat that on gold. That way I can have the long, long gold sash for my Dark Phoenix. Did that reverse applique on the chest piece because I didn't like the way the Phoenix looked. Um, and I entered into a contest and I won because the judges were so impressed that I didn't even know what this reverse applique thing was. And I went home the night after they had seen my Miss Marvel and they were like just gushing about it. So I decided to go home and redo this Dark Phoenix, and went the next day and she's like, "You did what last night?" So I mean, it really gave me enough confidence that I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to this 105th meeting, and I did, and I've been hooked ever since. And I've only been cosplaying for like 8 months or something like that, and I have like 8 costumes that I've made. I've kind of gotten a little ahead of myself for sure, but that's okay.
So what is like one of your favorite ones, or do you love all your costumes?
I really do love all of them, but I do have favorites right now because of how much positive feedback I've gotten off of my gender bent scarecrow. That's probably my number one right now. I have to fix the fear injectors before my next con that I go with it. Um, but since that one was like the one that just, I guess it blew everybody away, like how good it was. And I didn't expect it to go over that well. I thought it was going to be one of those cosplays I pull out of the closet every now and then, and we'll start doing it. But I mean, everybody just has taken to it so much, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep doing Scarecrow. So that one is definitely number one. If I had to put a number one to them, my second is definitely Aquaman, even though the shoes kill my feet after 7 hours. But it's worth it because I feel so empowered with the trident and that long stature with the shoes and everything. It really it makes me feel so powerful, like I could take on the world, and I love that feeling that it gives me. So that would definitely be my second favorite, and of course all the other ones kind of fall in behind those equally because I mean I've put enough of myself into all of them that it's like they're all kind of like my kids. Like those are my cosplay kids, which sounds so weird, but I guess most cosplayers probably understand that.
Hmm. I do. Yeah, I don't have as much as you do, but the two I do have, or I say one, I'll say two. The two I have, like I enjoy it, although like I don't, I haven't been the one putting a lot of work into it, but it's nice to walk around and just have people recognize you, or at least say, I think I know who you are. And,
Oh yeah, that's like the best is whenever people come up to you and are like, "Yeah, you're this person." But every once in a while, like with my gender bent Aquaman, people will come up to me and go, "Oh, it's Ariel." I'm like the Little Mermaid. Really? Are you serious? Like, I just don't get it. But yeah, I've
uh,
my Aquaman has been confused for a lot of things.
so, like, what inspires you, like, to pick the characters that you pick? Like, I know you mentioned Dark Phoenix and Scarecrow and Aquaman, and yeah, what inspires you to pick the ones that you do pick?
um, one of the one of the ones that I decided to pick. My let's see. My Aquaman. One of the biggest reasons that I picked that one is because my older brother, who is a police officer back home, he's my hero. So I told him, I was like, so we were talking like comic books or whatever, and he had said, "Oh yeah, I wish that you could cosplay Aquaman because he's my hero." And I'm like, "Well, I can do that." So that's what inspired me to make my Aquaman. And I was like, I'm gonna make the armor. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this right because it's kind of paying homage to my older brother. So that was one of the cosplays that really all of them had meaning to me, but that one was like the most significant meaning. Um, my Miss Marvel, I always thought that she was like a cool, powerful character. Like, she's been through a lot of crap in her life, so I knew that like I could play her. And oddly enough, a lot of the characters that I cosplay, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this character. I'm gonna talk like him, act like him, and then I realize, oh my God, this character is like has a similar personality to me, so oh my God, I can't really cosplay this, like cosplay. Like I'm not gonna be acting because a lot of them have the similar personality. Um, so like Captain America, whenever I do that one, which I just got a pinup version of it done, and I haven't worn that to a con yet, but with Captain America, he's very much like a Boy Scout. Like he's a goody goody kind of person, and there is like a big chunk of me that does tend to go towards like the goody goody side of life, and I tend to be very positive. And anytime my friends need me, they always know that they can call on me. So I kind of have that like Captain America mentality. Scarecrow has a similar abusive background as I do. So whenever I picked him, the original reason was actually because I played Arkham Asylum and he terrified me. Like I was playing Batman, and I'm like going through the Arkham Asylum and there's Scarecrow. I'm like, oh come on, he is terrifying. Why? So I kind of liked that whole fear factor of it. And then because I wasn't like a huge Batman fan, I was more of like the Tim Burton Batman fan, but I never like read the comics or anything, so I didn't know everybody's backstory. But once I started reading into his backstory, he was abused by his grandmother. He was beaten up by friend or whatever they're called, classmates. I was luckily never like beat up by classmates. I was beat up like whenever I was younger, like before I switched to my school that I was primarily at. But I was beat up whenever I was little, and so I kind of was like, oh wow, and it made me realize like, wow, I think I'm drawn to characters that have like that similar backstory or have a similar personality to me. So it was kind of one of those things like it's almost like the characters picked me versus me picking the characters. Um, One of the characters that I will be doing for this year's NC Comic Con is Stamatar from Defiance. And she is like, I will have to actually cosplay her and her personality because I'm not that evil and I'm not that, like, she's very manipulative. Her husband thinks he's like the main villain of the show. Like he carries himself like he's the villain, but she's the one actually pulling the strings, and I'm not like that at all. So I'm like, wow, she's gonna actually be the first character that I really play versus just kind of be myself through it. So a lot of the characters kind of pick me, but with Stama, I definitely kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna go with her because she's not me. There's nothing about her that's like me.
Yeah, you said Defiance. Like I started watching it, and then I think I just forgot to watch it one day, and I fell off. But like I know it's on right now. Like I just need to catch up from the first season.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing show.
Ah, gosh. And you said Arkham Asylum. Yeah, Scarecrow did bother me too, and that especially kind of playing it in surround sound.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like I think it was the level when you see was it Bruce's parents get killed, and then you're having to traverse the area. Then you hear him laughing, and I'm sitting in the middle of the floor, like, this is kind of borderline creepy.
Yeah, whenever I was playing that, I was just, the entire time I was playing, I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Because he really, like, they really portrayed him in, like, that perfect way. And I've been a lot of my friends have kind of nudging me towards doing another Scarecrow, but the Scarecrow that's from the Batman Knight. And I haven't played it yet, and I know I should have, but I've been so busy that there's no time that I can just sit there and give it all my attention. Because he is, now that I've played this character and I have this character as like a cosplay, now whenever I look at him, I'm like, yeah, that's like me. And I'm like, it's so silly. But now that whenever I found out that he was the main villain in Arkham Knight, I lost it because I was so excited because I'm like, he's so awesome. Like, I kind of did a whole 180 with him as a character in the video games.
From what I understand of the game, and like I don't have a PS4, from like with a little bit of like a walkthrough I looked at, like you will be impressed when you play it.
Yeah, I hear that.
'Cause John Noble does a good job with his acting, and I'm a fan of John Noble. Like was it Fringe and Lord of the Rings and
Hmm.
Sleepy Hollow and stuff. I'm like, yeah, he was a good choice for. Is it? I was about to say it's a Doctor Crane. I believe that's his name. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. And like for you, like your childhood, like I'm just curious, like what have like I guess looking back on your life to now, like the experiences that you've gone through, like what did you gain from the like that game, but like I guess the experiences to help you grow as a person from what you experienced.
Um, it definitely gave me enough. I don't think I would be as strong of a person as I am now if I actually hadn't have gone through everything that I went through. Um, I mean, it really put a different spin on my life and a different perspective. And, um, I can look at, all these suicide cases and not deliberately bring it to a dark side, but like seeing all these different things that you see in the news, and people are like, well, I just don't understand. And I can be like, I can't. I know that they really thought that there was no other way because I've been in that same situation where I was like, there's no way out, there's nothing. But whenever people tell anybody that's like suicidal or, abused, and they say one day you will get out and you will be a better person. And every time someone says that, you just get so irritated and angry because you just don't believe it. And really, in those situations, you're so helpless that you don't think that you're ever going to have that way out. And one of the biggest things that it did bring me is that inner strength to say, you know what, he's not worth it. This situation is not worth me leaving this planet. And I think that was like, it was extremely hard. It builds you and it builds your strength. And most of the time, like once you get out and you start living your life and you become a better person, you're like, wow, I almost ended this. So anybody that's like in that situation, like you tend to become a stronger person. You tend to become more self-sufficient. There's people that are whenever I was younger, there was people that were my age at the time, and they were very like reliant on everyone else around them to like pay their bills or do their laundry or do anything for them. Like they were so unself sufficient. And I was like, okay, I can't be like that, and I'm not like that. Like if I'm hungry, I'm gonna feed myself. If I need something, I will get it for myself. Versus like relying on someone else. So I think that really helped me build up that not inner strength, but like that mentality where I will take care of something if I need it to be done. So it really makes you self-sufficient, and really a stronger person. But there's always that time in your life whenever you look back on it and go, oh my god, this wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have been here. A few, like last year, um, I was on the beach with my fiance, and it was the super moon. And I always said all my life that the person that I was going to be with forever, I was going to be on the beach, and all we do is just watch the moon, and it would have to be a full moon. And that was like my like, this is how I'm going to know. And my fiance and I were on the beach, and the super moon was out, and I swear to you, I was like looking out on the ocean, and the clouds kind of surrounded it, and it looked like a beacon of light just shining into the ocean. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I just kind of sat there for a second. I just, like, I'm not a crier by any means. Like, I'm pretty strong, but like I just started crying, and I'm like, I would have missed this if I would have left. And like my fiance knew exactly what I meant, and he's just like, he held me for a little bit, and he's like, I know. So it was like, one day you're going to look back on it and be like, you know what, all that BS that I had to go through made me the strong person, made me a better person. But like one of the biggest things, like with any kind of like abuse or like bad situation, is like, you don't continue it, you stop it right then and there with yourself. Like, you don't continue it with others. So you don't go out and just bully someone else, or you don't take it out on someone else, or like if you have a child, you definitely don't want to continue that cycle, because it's just going to keep on continuing, and that's what you want to put to a stop.
True. Uh, just jumping to another subject seems like a bad transition, but I'm gonna ask.
It's okay.
Like I remember at Wizard World that you got to meet like David Tennant. I know you cosplayed as Rose Tyler. Like, who were some of like the other people that you've met that you, I guess because of cosplay or just in general, that you're excited to meet or look up to?
They're like my first ever experience with being with meeting like a celebrity is and I will never forget this till the day I die. I can get Alzheimer's and like still remember this moment. But I went to St. Louis to go see my favorite band, Cradle of Filth. Like, I'm a huge metalhead. And the band was actually, this was like way prior to cosplay, but the band was, I got there so early that the band was like hanging out, playing pool, drinking some beers. And I'm like, I look at my friend, I'm like, oh my God, that's Cradle of Filth. And he's like, no way. I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. Like, and I just went up to him, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be cool about this. I'm going to go up to him, talk to him. So I went up to him, and I'm like, hey, I'm a huge fan. I want you guys to know that like you guys are, have really carried me through some dark times, and I really appreciate it. And I think that you guys are awesome. And like, I was so calm and cool about it. And in my head, I was like, just absolutely losing my mind. But they were like, oh, come sit down with us. You want to play pool? And I'm like, I don't know how to play pool. And they're like, oh, no, come over here. We'll teach you. And I was like, oh my God. And they taught me how to play pool. And I was like, this is the best moment of my life. Um, then, like, with me meeting David Tennant, like, it was only really brief because it was like that photo op. So it's just like a quick, like, whatever. But like, I had seen him like through the like curtain, and I started losing my mind, and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And so I get up to him, and he's like, oh, I love your outfit. And I'm like, oh, lost it. So like the picture is like like the absolute biggest smile you'll ever see on my face. And I was just so excited, and I was on cloud nine for like the rest of the day. I had spoken with Cassandra Peterson, which is Elvira, which I've always loved Elvira. Even growing up, I was a huge fan of like Elvira, Lily Munster, and Morticia Adams. They were like my who I wanted to be when I grew up kind of people. So I went to her Q&A, and I just, said a few words to her, and she talked to me for a second at the end of it. But I mean, like, it's so cool meeting celebrities at these cons. I was sneaking kind of behind the scenes with my friend Charlie Rocket, and because she was one of the judges on the Wizard World panel, and so I went back there and I'm like, "Do you think I could get a picture with Jason David Frank?" And she's like, "Go up to him and ask him." I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go." So I like ran to the back because he was standing over there, and I just like babbled like nobody's business because he was my number one like childhood crush. So I'm like, oh my god. And then eventually like my brain's just like, shut up, just shut up and go. Just say thank you and go. And like the picture is like me and I'm like holding his chest. I'm like on cloud nine as well. So I mean it was really cool. I haven't met too many celebrities, but I see that changing in the future, I'm sure. But it was definitely a awesome experience. Like all those experiences were just amazing. And I was literally like, I wish they would have been recorded because they were just like, you could see the look on my face, I'm sure, of like just pure joy.
Gotcha. I do understand the feeling. Like, I haven't met too many people myself, but like I think when I met was it Chris Hardwick at the NC Comic Con like 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, this is cool. I get to meet like the guy that inspired me to start this podcast actually, and and I remember we had a quick conversation. I asked him to sign his book, The Nerdist Way, and I was like, yeah, hey, I started this because of you, and see how was it going? I was like, well, at the time, like I only had 9 episodes, and I don't have the time to do it a lot of it all the time, and just because of
Mm-hmm.
life. And he's like, well, the good thing is it's the internet. You don't have to keep a schedule. You can do it when you want to. And he just wished me luck, and it was kind of in a sense like it's almost a quick conversation. I won't forget it as like it's a nice send off. I guess I won't say send off, but like a nice congratulatory, like, hey, good luck to you, and kind of thing.
I understand that.
So, but as we're winding things down, like, yeah, what are like some of your favorite cons that you've been to?
Um, I haven't been to too many other than like the NC Comic Con. That'll always hold a special place in my heart because that's where Jenna Say What started out being a cosplayer versus just kind of doing my YouTube thing. Um, but like a lot of times, the little cons are actually kind of cool. Wizard World was a amazing experience. I would love to join their panels and actually be a part of like the Wizard World family at some point. But yeah, a lot of the little cons, even though like there's not a whole lot that's going on, I think that those sometimes are the best because you start making friends in the circles and you start learning things, and that's one of the reasons that I've gotten started in like the 105th group because whenever I first went to I was gonna say Wizard World, NC Comic Con, they weren't as big as they are right now 3 years ago. So I met like almost every cosplayer that was there, and like within 24 hours of the con, like my Facebook feed was just blowing up with all cosplayers, people posting photos of me. There was like all this like cool stuff because like everybody kind of knew who you were whenever you walked in, and if they didn't know you, people would go up to you and talk to you. So I think sometimes the littler cons are just as good as the big cons because you don't have to worry about like the big crowds and like the big um, payouts. Like you have to pay like $100 to get in. I've never been to the San Diego one, although I have wanted to. But the more I'm like going to the more local cons on the East Coast, the more I'm like, I don't have to go to San Diego to go to that. I do, on the other hand, Charlie Rocket and I are thinking about going out to um, the Drag Con out in, I think it's LA or it's somewhere out in California. It might be in San Diego too, but it's RuPaul's Drag Race Drag Con. because her and I are obsessed with drag queens and we absolutely love them. So we're thinking about going out there and we'll actually cosplay drag queens whenever we go out there. So that would probably be like, I can die right now and I'd be totally fine with that. Um, but yeah, basically the smaller cons tend to be a lot more fun, I think.
I agree, because that's honestly like my con of choice. Like I think I've gone every year, even when, except for the first year because I didn't know about it when it was at the airport mall.
Mm-hmm.
Like to see where it is now, it's like okay, it's growing. I'm excited, and to see like even when they brought John Berman last year, I was like, okay, we're doing something big now.
Yep.
So, but just I guess a couple more things. Like, what are some things about you, like stuff that you enjoy?
Um, Stuff that I enjoy, like now, now that cosplay is kind of taken over my life and my hobbies, it's kind of like hard to say like, well, other than cosplay, what do I do? I game. I'm on Elder Scrolls Online, and I play D&D. Right now, I'm running the Planescape campaign with my online D&D group. We all kind of moved away from each other, so this kind of keeps us all like a big happy family every Monday night. So every Monday night, that is what I'm doing. I also knit. I used to be more involved in music, but I haven't been really been kind of itching to get back into that. Also on the pseudo cosplay front, I am involved in the SCA, which is Society for Creative Anachronisms, and it's where you dress up in Renaissance garb, you camp out in old-fashioned tents, or sometimes they'll allow you to use regular, what we call mundane tents, like what you'd get at Target or Walmart or whatever. Um, but yeah, I do archery for that. So I'm an archer. So that's fun. But yeah, those the SCA events. The one that I tend to go to is in October. Tends to be like the around the 18th, and that one's a lot of fun. There's a lot of amazing parties the nights during the nights, and then there's all these like fights, and you have your weaponry and stuff. It's the coolest thing ever. I turn my phone off and I go into SCA mode, and I don't turn my phone off until Sunday, and it's kind of nice to kind of unplug and go back into a land before all the technology and whatnot. So I think that those pretty much are the other things that I do.
And last question: is there like anything like you would want to tell people like advice, whether it's about cosplay or just general life advice? 'Cause I feel like this has been a great discussion about giving advice to people in general. But is there anything you would want to tell listeners?
Well, one of the biggest things that I always say is, be yourself. And I know that everybody tells you to do that. Oh my God. And it gets so annoying. And like whenever you're discouraged and you feel like you absolutely hate yourself and hate being yourself, like don't. Why? One of the best quotes that I've ever heard in my life is from RuPaul, which is he says, if they're not paying your bills, pay them no mind. And the whole quote of fake it until you make it. Sometimes you kind of have to look at yourself in the mirror, and you don't necessarily have to believe it. Be like, I'm awesome. I'm pretty. This looks good on me. I'm happy to be myself. And it takes like months and even years of basically training yourself in the mirror to be able to look at yourself one day and go, you know what? I do feel nice. I feel pretty. I do feel confident in myself finally. So sometimes you kind of have to do that fake it until you make it thing. So whenever it comes to like cosplay or daily life, don't let others, belittle you or make you, excuse me, make you feel less than yourself, or make you think that, you need to change and be like someone else, because most of the time the people that make fun of you are not confident in their own selves, so they have to put someone else down to kind of make themselves feel better. So you can't let those people just tear you down like that. You have to be the better person and walk away and say, you know what, this is probably not about me. This is more than likely about their own self-confidence, and they're not confident in themselves, so they're putting me down. So really that whole be true to yourself type thing is the biggest thing that I can say to do, because I've looked back on my life and went, wow, I let other people dictate the way that I am or the way that I was. And it kind of makes me sad, because I'm like, wow, I missed so much of learning about myself. Like one of the first things I learned, like whenever I first finally decided like I'm not going to let people dictate me, I came out and was like, I don't like Pink Floyd. I don't like Pink Floyd. And it was like so relieving to me that I didn't like them, and I admitted it to myself, which is weird. Like, I have respect for Pink Floyd, don't get me wrong, but I just don't like them. Same thing with Led Zeppelin, and I'm probably going to make a lot of people be like, oh, come on. But I'm not a fan. But I mean, being able to say that to myself made me realize, like, wow, I've kind of went with the herd this entire time, and I'm finally able to break from it, and that's weird. So, be true to yourself. Always be true to yourself.
I think that's great advice. And I just want to ask you about one of your cosplays. I forgot to ask you about earlier. Your R2D2 cosplay. Like,
Hmm.
I think that's like, how did you make that one?
I do modeling. I used to do it much more frequently, but I've kind of slowed down. I did a bikini bash photo shoot last year, and I was like, I knew in my heart that I had it in the bag, and I was like, this is awesome, because the theme was, oh, what was it? Old school Hollywood. And I'm like, okay, so all these girls are probably going to do pinup, and I'm going to be the only one that's sticking out. So I made the hat for R2 for my beach R2D2, and got like got better at my robot. And so I was like, all right, and I did a big reveal for it in the whole 9 yards, and I walked that runway like I owned it, and I did my robot halfway down, shut down, powered back up, and then walked the rest of the runway, and then did a couple of robot poses, and then just kind of like happily skipped back. And I was like, it's in the bag. I got this, because they did like a competition, and I think they were giving away like $500 for the female winner, and then 500 for the male. And I'm like, I got it. It's in the bag. And they called out the winner, and it was like some chick in the tiniest little black bikini, had nothing to do with old school Hollywood. Like her boobs were hanging out and everything. And I was like, I was so pissed, because no one understood it. And I was like, this has got to go to con. Like, I've got to make Beach R2D2 a thing and take it to a con where people are going to appreciate it, versus people that just kind of look at this body and just be like, oh yeah, okay, boobs. We'll agree. All right, she wins. So, and there were a lot of girls that were kind of irritated with that, because they really put a lot of effort into it. So I made a bikini wrap and went to the con as Beach R2D2, and so many people got it, and they thought it was the funniest and cutest thing that they've ever seen. And I'm like, finally, people get it. They understand it. So like Beach R2D2 became this hit. So I was like, all right, thank God someone understands me.
And lastly, where can people like find you online, like your social media and stuff, if you want to plug yourself?
I do want to plug myself. I am on YouTube as Jenna Say What. So it's youtube.com/ uh, Jenna Say What official. And or I'm sorry, that's my Facebook. Let me start over again. It's youtube.com/ the Jenna Say What. So TheJennaSawWHAT. And then my Facebook is facebook.com/ Jenna Say What official, and my Twitter and my Instagram are both Jenna underscore say underscore what. I'm I'm fairly easy to find. Typically, whenever you search up Jenna Say What on Facebook, I tend to pop right up.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.